So let me start with a disclaimer. I was on the Istanbul airport on Friday, and I get a call with my comms director. He said, Cristobal, this talk of yours is not good enough. TechChill is much better than this. You promised Ernest a good talk. This is not a good talk. I said, okay, Friday, next Thursday. You know what we do in entrepreneurship when this happens? We say, good, challenge accepted. Because we all think entrepreneurship is amazing. Who thinks entrepreneurship is not amazing? Okay, everybody thinks so? Okay, good. So we want to build a vision. We want to build a company. We want to be our boss, right? We want to make an impact on our own way. The problem is that that's only half of the reality. Entrepreneurship is a jungle. We are out there to survive every day. We need to find shelter, food. We need to become stronger until we are ready for the fight. Because the average time for an exit of a SaaS company in the Valley is how long? How long do you think it takes to make an exit? How many years? 7? 5? 9? It takes 9 years to make an exit. It's a very, very long marathon. So we need to be really strong for it. And the reality is most of us don't make it. 1 out of 20 startups will survive. If I throw 2 dice and I bet on a 3, I have more chances than on surviving as a startup. If I make a New Year resolution, 8% actually make it. So you have more chances to finally lose weight than to really make your startup survive. Think about it. Huh? So we're betting our life in something almost impossible. So we keep thinking, what's happening? Why startups don't survive? Why don't they stay long enough alive to find product market fit? So we ask our startups, why did you fail? There is tons of reports out, you can read it, the top 10 reasons why a startup fails, the top 20 reasons, and they all say, or 42% says, lack of product market fit. We're not alive long enough to find it. In fact, we never found it. If you actually look at most accelerators, they promise they will help you find product market fit. I guess most of them are lying or unintentionally lying because the stats are there. So we say, how can we find a startup sustainability? So everybody talks about sustainability. How can we find it? Is there a method? Can we research it? Can we find it? You know what we found? Waste. Lots of waste. The startups are amazing at wasting. They waste time, focus, and money. 80% of startups focus on product and not on customers. How many times you hear about, I want to make my product perfect? Listen to customers, dude. Big mistake. 20% said we ended up losing our passion. We focus on money versus passion. It's not going to work. Money. 35% of hires are always wrong. Not only actually you get a wrong hire, but you spend 6 months to find that guy or that woman that didn't work out. 33% of the marketing is wasted. Investors allocate 200 to 300% more capital than needed. They're wasting 2 to 3x of the money. Why most VCs don't make money? They start actually understanding why. Because they're wasting their money in unproductive startups. But we, as wise guys, we might be doing something right. Because our survival rate is 77%. Out of 180 teams, 77% are still alive today. And by alive, we mean they're generating revenues 18 months after they leave us. So we found, can we study this? What are our teams doing better? Can we put this into a factory? Do they see the Holy Grail? Is those 2 days in the sauna in the offsite revealing something to them that nobody else knows? And the answer is, it's very unsexy. These teams are performing. These teams are finding a way to constantly perform better and better every day. So I was thinking that the answer of performance was culture. I thought, if a team has a strong culture, a strong values, this is it. So I was researching, I was about to write a book about just culture. Then I met Stoyan. Stoyan has been working with us for 4 years. He's a time management coach, really masterminding, really working on the psychological side of founders. I said, I'm about to write a book, Cristobal. I said, you know what, dude? We have not any time to write any books, neither of us. Why don't we just write one book instead of 2 books? I said, that sounds good. So we met in Copenhagen, spent 3 hours researching. He said, what are we missing? Have time, focus, planning. And one of the missing links was what today I'm listening a lot about, mental health. So we added that into it, and then he went to Starbucks. He spent 3 hours saying, if I take perform, can I make something meaningful of each letter so we can call it a methodology? This is how methodologies are born, right? You think they're in the lab, etc. No, you go to Starbucks, you make something that makes nice, you Google it, nobody owns it, you get a methodology. So we have our methodology, right? So we found that if you have culture and values, if you are able to plan effectively, if you are able to assign responsibilities and have ownership, not accountability like corporates, but ownership, solidarity. If you have focus, avoiding all those thousands of emails and you can actually execute finally. If you have energy for you and your team. If you can able to communicate constantly in a robust way, and you accept challenges like, good, we are having a 50% chance to be successful. So from playing with 2 dice to get a 3, to playing roulette, black and white. So large improvement just by applying a methodology. And a methodology that you can run over and over, because teams are constantly evolving. So sometimes at the beginning, they don't know what the culture is. But 2 years down the line, they might actually have no energy. Or they're not tough enough. Or they're actually unfocusing because every problem is solved by hiring somebody else because their responsibilities are not clear. So you keep using this. I want to go deeper into 2 aspects here. One of them is culture, extremely close to my heart. We have a lot of amazing speakers, many of them coming from the US, but we wanted to focus on examples from this region, because there's a lot of amazing startuppers in this region. In the Baltics, in Turkey, in Ukraine, in Poland. I don't need to go to Facebook to find that special people, those special cultures. You can create it. So Curify, these guys were called Bot Screw. Then they're smiling, said, what the hell is he going to say about us right now? So Ansis, one of our former founders, failed, got back, is studying a lot about psychology. And he asked them, what do you want to do in 10 years from now? What is the ultimate aim of this company? Because their claim was, we're doing bots for the health industry. Wow, I want to join that company. I want to keep building bots for 10 years for healthcare. I'm so excited, right? Whew. They told me, that's not a rhetorical question, Cristobal. We imagine a world with no diseases in 10 years from now, in which in every disease, there is somebody that volunteers to do research and become a research test and solve it. And when you have 3 guys saying, we are going to have a world with 0 diseases, you want to join that company. You want to be part of that mission. You will overcome any obstacle ahead of you. So you have the purpose, you have the vision. The question is how this translates on day-to-day. You need values, you need behaviors, right? This is like the operating system. These 4 fellas, they all work, but they work very differently. In fact, if you like Mac, I don't, sorry Ernest, I will never buy the fucking Apple laptop, or Windows. If I got Linux, so it feels very different inside each of those operating systems. I don't want to move to the others. That's how values are. They're not for everybody. They just feel really good if you fit inside and you don't want to leave it because it's working. So that's the analogy we make to values. Values are great, but building them is a pain in the butt. Because it's very easy to build values with the 2 co-founders. But how do you work when you have 20 people? So we have another company on Dato. They've been running for 5 years, almost now 90K MRR. And they came to the accelerator, and after the workshop we did, they went on a weekend together. And he said, we have never been so energized that seeing everybody in the team co-creating the values together, that now feel part of the equation, that feel part of what they belong here. So you need to start working on your values from day one, but you need to get your team to feel part of it. But it will be emotional. It will be hard. You will be digging into your insights. My COO told me, I have never discussed so emotional things, not even in my family, that our workshop about values. People crying, screaming, wanted to leave because you are digging into the values. So it is very important to describe your values. It will be painful to do it, and some people might leave. But once you have them, if everybody owns them, they're extremely powerful. You have the values. You have the purpose. How do you communicate? And communication, to me, is one of the biggest mistakes I see in the region. Because communication has 4 axes. One is the frequency. You don't tell the values once. You don't tell the culture once. You don't tell your strategy once. You do it every week. You do it every month. The CEO has to have, they were talking before about supervisory board, executive management board, town halls, Tuesday calls, Friday calls. You have to have a frequency. You cannot communicate just whenever you want. It has to be there. The second one is alignment. It's mommy and daddy. We all know, right? The kids are great at exploiting when mommy says we're going, you're not going to have ice cream, and daddy says, no, we have ice cream if you do this, right? They will exploit that. So the guys talk to the CTO, marketing priority is not to launch this feature, and marketing says the sales guys want this feature. If not, I cannot do any marketing. So the founders need to be aligned. The communication has to be bi-directional. Top-down is called dictatorship. It's not communication. Bottom-up, then we start actually having flows of information. You start really understanding what's happening in the company. The bigger you are, the more important it is. And then planning. How many CEOs send a weekly email or a monthly email or a quarterly email? None? Okay, no CEOs or terrible CEOs. Okay, Maris, thank you for at least doing that. It takes about 2 hours to write 3 paragraphs of an email to the company. If it's well thought, if it's well communicated. And that's if you are lucky enough not to have a comms department who will review it and tell you what you have to change afterwards. You have to plan 2 hours every second week to communicate properly. It doesn't happen without planning. Another important part, feedback. Who cooks here? Anybody cooks here? At least more people cook than send emails. That's good. That's very good. So I love to cook, right? I have never served food without tasting it. In fact, I don't know how you do that, right? So this is like feedback. You cannot be cooking if you're not tasting the food. You cannot be managing if you're not getting people telling you, how well do I manage? And I don't know why people think that this is just going to happen automatically. People don't give you feedback. They tell you they want feedback, then you give it, then they feel like shit, and then you don't do it ever again, right? We do 360, you do it once, you don't know what to do with so much information, and it never happens again. That's feedback if you're lucky to even get there, right? So I was talking to a Bulgarian company, this is a fintech company, to Konstantin, and he told me a couple of funny examples, nothing extremely sexy. He said, you know what, every 6 weeks, in the calendars for the next year, it's already set up that you meet your direct reports. And they come in with the list of their assessment of the situation and a morale status, 1 to 10. And you write it down and you review the past one, etc. So he told me an example. I have this long-term manager coming in, morale status 3. Basically, 3 means I'm about to quit tomorrow if you don't do something. I said, what's happened? He said, I don't have any more challenges. I've done everything I have to do. So they talk about, but you know, you're head of the processes. We're growing from 20 people to 50 people. We are not ready to handle these challenges. So they work on aspects about what are the 5 things we need to do in 6 weeks from now, in 12 months from now. 12 weeks later, 2 more meetings later, the morale was 8 out of 10. It just takes you to take time to listen to what your employees need, to make commitments, to follow them up. And remember one more thing. Feedback is not telling people, good job. That's bullshit. That is, I don't give a fuck about my employees. Feedback is telling them, I love that presentation about customer expectations and experience. I love how you use the numbers much better the last time. Actually, that graph on the right, I really finally understood how the shops are doing. That's feedback. I care about you. I invested time to look at the presentation. I took a couple of minutes to think about it, and I'm giving it to you. That is feedback. How many of you do give feedback like that versus good job? Good job is patronizing. That's not feedback. So this is a fundamental lesson that we have to do. As a leader, we constantly need to work on that. And our employees don't know how to give feedback. They don't teach you in school in Latvia feedback lessons. In fact, they don't give you feedback lessons, they don't give you negotiation lessons, they don't give you argumentation lessons. We need to help our team to do it. And we need to be the first ones leading by example. So are you ready to perform? Are you ready to run a company in a really unsexy manner? Just doing the things that matter well. Because if you do it, you have a 50% chance to succeed. I know I got you super curious. You really want to know more about it, of course. So I need you to buy my book, of course, And I will give you right now the discount code and all these things. But remember, having a culture, plan effectively, focus on execution, get that distraction out of you, get the responsibilities right, and make sure that we own it. Optimal energy for you and your team. Robust communication, including feedback. And when a challenge comes up, be tough and say, good, challenge accepted. So you can still buy the book, coming out in Q2, no pressure for us too. I don't know when the hell I'm going to write it, but it's coming out. Thank you very much, and see you in the air.